on in.
I always fall over your dustbins, I'm afraid.
Everyone does, Mr. Lemming.
It's April the 5th again, Mr. Scrotty.
How the time does pass.
I came through the park. The daffodils are rather lovely.
I'm an orchid man myself.
Still no news?
None.
Oh, well, I'll just have to come back again next April.
Look, why don't...
I almost forgot.
What's this?
It's a manuscript of my brother's. I'd like you to read it.
Couldn't I wait for the movie?
I'd like you to read it. You think my brother's dead, don't you?
Well, 7 years is a long time.
Mr. Scrotty, I know he's alive. And I shall continue to come here every year on the anniversary of his disappearance to ask you to keep on searching for him.
Well, it's your money.
Then spend it as necessary and read the manuscript, Mr. Scrotty. Read the manuscript.
A nut. A real nut.
He's dead.
Who?
Mr. Kimpsford.
Oh.
Don't you remember?
No.
Blimey, they tell me he gave you that cut on your head.
No, I'll never be able to thank him.
Suppose you can go now.
Where?
Wherever you came from.
I can't remember.
Blimey.
I don't even remember my name.
Don't you remember nothing then?
Oh, yes. I remember you.
Well, well, well. Well, well, well.
Inspector Blood.
Sergeant Hare.
As requested, Mr. Cronk.
Your telephonic communication of today's date, Mr. Cronk.
I suppose you've an inkling of what I wanted to see you about.
Yes, the old annual ritual.
The Judgment Day bit.
Justice is hardly the right word. Sit down, won't you?
Thank you.
Help yourself to a cigarette.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Unsolved crimes. All of them. Some of them going back 10 years.
Longer. You've forgotten Jack the Ripper.
Do I have to pull rank on you, gentlemen? Now, I know perfectly well that the perpetrators of some of these so-called unsolved crimes are known to the police.
Yes. If only we could get them inside and kick the truth out of them.
Ah, the old uncomplicated days. Any particular case bothering you?
Yes, I find myself intrigued, constantly intrigued, by the disappearance 7 years ago of Colonel Hugo Lemming.
Refresh my forgotten facts. Was he one of your chaps?
No, he was a missile man. He was in charge of a missile testing station.
I understood he defected to the east. Wasn't he supposed to have been seen in Moscow, queuing up to buy a gramophone record or something?
We did have a vague report to that effect from our Moscow man, Alan Price Peters.
How vague.
Oh, vague enough. He could have been mistaken. We shall probably never know.
Pessimism, pessimism.
Realism, realism, gentlemen. Price Peters disappeared soon after he reported, so we've written him off.
And you want us to reopen the case?
If you'll be so good.
Consider it reopened.
Thank you.
Am I driving too fast for you?
No.
Because I have no intention of slowing down.
If you're going to London, you can't go too fast for me.
You have urgent business there?
I don't know.
That is a very strange answer.
I'm in a very strange situation.
My name is Ciri Van Epp. Have you a name?
I suppose so.
Is it too sacred to mention, perhaps?
Oh, you misunderstand. It's not that I don't want to answer your question. It's just that I can't remember anything.
You are beginning to interest me.
It's a long time since a beautiful woman said anything like that to me.
How long?
A century, perhaps.
You have been in a monastery.
No, it wasn't a monastery.
Prison?
Sort of.
Are you insane?
Does it bother you?
I don't think you are insane enough to try anything while we are doing 70 miles an hour.
You drive very well.
I do everything very well.
We'll see. We shall see.
Come in.
A perfect day for burning heretics.
What day isn't?
As you say,
Well, my dear friend.
people like you have no friends.
I sometimes like to regard you as a friend, Scrotty.
You and I are useful to each other from time to time. Let's not prove it up into anything different.
Come and work for me again.
We tried that and it didn't work.
Well, you have your own weird honesty, and you have ability, undoubted ability. Why waste it all on being a private detective? Come on, Scrotty, let's have it.
Colonel Hugo Lemming.
By heavens, Scrotty, sometimes I wonder if you haven't got a pipeline into this bloody office.
You have a problem, Kronk. You think you're God's elder brother.
And what is your interest in Colonel Lemming?
I collect missing colonels.
Who are you working for?
Even colonels have relatives.
Well, if I remember correctly, there were only an ex-wife and the brother.
The brother. Every year he comes to visit me on the anniversary of Lemming's disappearance. Like visiting a grave. He should bring me flowers.
Indeed.
Is he visiting a grave?
How long has he been doing this?
Oh, 7 years. I work at it on and off when I remember.
7 years.
Is he visiting a grave?
I'm afraid, Scotty, the time is
Or
very
did
short.
Colonel Hugo Lemming go through the Iron Curtain?
Go home, detective.
Well, did he?
Go home.
I have a better idea. I'm going down to the canteen and see if they're still making the coffee with sand. Bye now.
Bye. Oh, Scotty. Scotty. Well, well, well. Inspector Blood.
What is it? I'm just getting into a bath.
Well, get out of the bath and go and fetch Phil Scrotty back here. Well, well, well.
Tell me about the scar on your forehead.
You're embarrassing me.
Not at all. It's very becoming.
I'm told I got it from a man called Kempsford.
It looks like something more than hearsay.
I know. Isn't it absurd?
It could be absurd, or it could be rather clever.
Clever?
I can imagine situations in which loss of memory might be convenient.
You're suggesting I'm a phony.
I am not suggesting anything. I am merely stating a possibility.
Either way, it doesn't affect you.
It interests me.
Are you married?
Every now and then.
Currently?
I am on a sabbatical year. Do you worry about your loss of memory?
Sometimes.
Do you want to have it back again?
It's always reassuring to know who you are and where you're from.
Perhaps.
It'll come back one day. A word, a tune, a particular scent, and it'll be there again.
Mazel tov.
There have been times when it's almost happened.
A word, a tune, a particular scent.
A phrase.
Say it.
£2 million.
You need somebody to look after you.
Anyone in mind?
Me.
What happened, Miss Winkle?
Ooh, Mrs. Kingsford.
Well, never mind the drama. Just tell me what happened.
He done me up and scarpered.
He hit you?
One of them carroty chops, like on the telly.
Idiot. How long's he been gone?
Don't rightly know.
You're a fool. An inefficient fool.
Well, nobody gave me no instructions.
Well, you were expected to use your common sense.
Everybody had gone. Soon as a word came about your husband being dead, everybody just went.
You told him my husband was dead?
Well, I did just happen to mention it.
You might just as well have opened the door for him.
What are we going to do, Mrs. Kingsford?
Find him. Or find someone else to find him.
Troubles never come singly, do they, Mum? First your husband dies, and then your poor sick brother has
He wasn't my brother.
I was led to believe.
He was my first husband.
Well, stone me.
Well?
This is too much. The contrast, I mean. The place I came from, this, all in a matter of hours.
Intelligent people adjust quickly.
I'm not quite sure yet exactly what I'm adjusting to.
I am a gambler. Oh, I do not mean in the stupid, reckless sense of the term. Perhaps it would be more accurate to say that I am prepared to take a calculated risk.
And what calculated risk are you prepared to take with me?
That you are what is the word, a crackpot. Or even a liar.
I'm afraid you'll have to explain that a little more fully.
You have told me a story about being kept prisoner for a long time. You say you have lost your memory. You have a scar on your forehead which may or may not confirm these two statements. You also mentioned that something stirs vaguely in your mind. A phrase. £2 million.
I think I'm beginning to understand.
If you are not lying, and if you are not a crackpot, these things are obviously linked up.
A reasonable supposition.
I am prepared to subsidize the treatment for your amnesia.
In return for what?
In the event of a cure, £50,000.
As you say, intelligent people adjust quickly.
Presenting Phil Scotty.
Who shall be nameless?
He wanted to see a lawyer.
But no lawyer would touch him.
And anyone a lawyer wouldn't touch. I wouldn't want to marry my sister.
And he doesn't like his sister.
Oh, please.
Is no, is this life so? Is this life no? Is this life no?
Last time you were here, you left something behind.
Well, you know the old superstition. You leave something behind, it really means you want to come back.
Do you mean to say that you left the manuscript here deliberately?
You read it, eh?
Naturally, didn't you intend me to?
Oh, yes. What did you think of Colonel Lemming's prose style?
Fascinating.
And the great storyline.
As you say.
Well, did Hugo Lemming go through the Iron Curtain?
We think so. The identification was merely tentative, and the man who made it is now dead.
And now Colonel Lemming is back in this country.
If that manuscript is genuine, he has been for 4 years.
Oh, it's genuine, all right.
Yes, Scotty. You want me to buy that manuscript, don't you?
2,000 buys you a photostatic copy.
I don't have to pay you a cent, and well, you know it. This is a question of state security.
Oh, the good Lord loves a trier.
Yes, indeed. So I'll offer you 500.
You're on.
Thank you. There are 2 gentlemen outside there. Ask them to come in, will you? Oh. Oh. I sent you a manuscript, gentlemen.
Oh, yes. Fascinating. I couldn't put it down. South Wales Clarion.
Nick's Lady Chatterley's Lover. Look like Agatha Christie. Aberdeen Weekly Bugle.
Money on the Line by Hugo Lemming.
Nice title. Adhesive, you might say.
Do you agree with the comments in my memo?
Rather. The Rednall Railway robbery, all right.
Before the event took place.
So it would appear.
Yes, and filled with details that could only have been known by an insider.
Beyond a peradventure.
Oh, there have been books based on famous crimes before now, multitudes of them. But a crime based upon a book before its publication is something different.
The mind boggles.
We've checked out the manuscript bit, all right. Professional typing job, but no typewriting agency can recall it at all. Complete blank wall.
You know, many an unsolved crime is a solved crime with insufficient evidence to prove it.
I wish I'd said that.
Oh, shut up, Sergeant.
Who was at the back of this £2 million job?
A villain called Abel Kempsford.
I see. Any connection between Kempsford and Colonel Lemming?
There was a girl.
Was there, by Jove?
Beryl Norman, a singer. Lemming married her, but the marriage didn't take. They divorced, and later on she married Kempsford.
Aha. Tell me more about Kempsford.
A villain, born to the trade. Plenty of form.
Ah. So the Colonel's lady became the convict's wife, yes.
Well,
yes.
perhaps you like pendulum reactions.
Where is Kempsford now?
He died last week. He'd been ill for over a year.
Let me have everything that you've got on Mrs. Kempsford and Colonel Lemming.
Oh, there's practically nothing. They're both clean.
Send up the files anyway.
Will do. Sergeant!
Oh, no, not anymore. Do I have to spend the rest of my life listening to these damn things?
I would say that you are between 45 and 49.
What has that got to do with it?
I am trying to energize your lost memory.
Well, I really can't believe you can be energized like this.
One of your English playwrights has commented on the potency of cheap music.
Does it have to be this cheap?
Everybody has a special tune. One that has a very powerful evocative quality, usually because of its associations with the love affair. Mine, for instance, is a French song.
It would be.
Le nombril de la femme de l'agent de police.
The policeman's wife's navel.
You speak French?
So I do. You were talking about special tunes.
Ah, yes. These special tunes make their greatest impact on us in our early 20s.
I shouldn't be at all surprised.
And that places you right in the middle of World War II.
Possibly.
And these are all the popular tunes of that era.
I have a feeling I was a very bigoted lover of the classics.
We are going to try them next.
Oh, no.
Come in.
Oh, my name's Lemming. Your policeman told me to...
Yes, of course, of course. Do come in. Let me take your hat and stick. Sit down, won't you?
Thank you.
I suppose you can guess why we sent for you. Cigarette?
No, thank you. Do you mind a pipe?
No, not at all. Not in the least.
It's about my brother, isn't it?
Yes?
You have news of him?
No, and I'm sorry if I've inadvertently raised any false hopes.
Please don't apologize.
Would you care for a drink?
Oh, thank you. Could I have a glass of Madeira?
Madeira and brandy and soda, please. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about that manuscript that you've given to Phil Scrutty.
He's been here to see you?
But of course, Scrutty's only a one-man band. We're a much larger organization.
You still haven't found my brother.
Touché, touché. Did you know any of your brother's friends?
Not many.
Does the name Kempsford mean anything to you?
I'm afraid not.
Your brother never mentioned it?
Never.
Here's our drink.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. Your very good health, sir.
Your good health.
Did you ever talk politics with your brother?
I'm afraid I don't understand what you...
Did he hold extreme political opinions in either direction?
Well, if he did, he kept them to himself.
I see. Well, let's talk about the manuscript.
Yes, the manuscript.
How long has that been in your possession?
Oh, perhaps 6 years.
You realize its significance?
I didn't when I read it at first. I was merely amused at the thought of Hugo writing a crime novel. I mean, I couldn't very well relate it to an event that hadn't yet happened.
When did you manage to relate it?
Oh, less than 6 months ago. It was then I realized that my brother had written under the guise of a crime novel a complete blueprint of the Radnor rail robbery.
Why didn't you take that manuscript to the police instead of showing it to Phil Scrutty?
Well, I was going to, of course, but I thought if Scrutty saw it first, it might stir him into greater efforts than he seems to be making since I first employed him.
Quite so. Thank you for giving us so much of your time.
Oh, not at all. Am I right in thinking there's something sinister in my brother's disappearance?
There is something sinister in any disappearance.
Yes, I suppose so. Well, goodbye.
Goodbye, and thank you very much indeed. This way. Thank you very much. Did you get all that?
Yes.
Good.
Why don't you move those bleeding dustbins?
Well, they tell me things like when somebody's coming.
You want to watch it, mate?
And how are you, Blinky?
You want to watch it, mate?
Crazy lyric you got going there, Blinky.
You want to? How come you know my name?
Oh, everybody knows you, Blinky. You used to lean on people for Abel Kempsford.
You want to watch it, mate?
Who tells you who to lean on now that your boss is numbered among the saints?
I do.
She who must be obeyed.
They tell me you're a very tricky boy.
It's a tricky old world.
I like to trust the people who work for me.
So maybe you've come to the wrong address.
This place looks as if you'd crawl for $1.
Oh, you have a vulgar mind. One of the greatest Greek philosophers lived his whole life in a barrel. What did you come in here to buy, anyway? Flock wallpaper, deep carpets, movie star secretary, camp paintings, the whole wall-to-wall convit? Or are you just an insecure snob looking for someone to insult?
People don't talk to me like that.
Time they did.
I'm sorry.
Or aren't you sorry? Now, what do you want?
I want you to trace someone for me.
What someone?
My husband. Well?
I like to be able to trust the people I work for.
What does that mean?
Your husband died last week, Mrs. Kempsford. You didn't come in here expecting to hire an idiot, did you? No, you walked in here with Blinky. Blinky was one of your late husband's better-known muscles. You snap your fingers and Blinky goes out like a lamb. Now, guess who that makes you?
Yeah. Guess.
Anyway, I'd have known you without Blinky. Once you get that showbiz look, you never lose it.
I'd like a cigarette.
That was a great voice you had in those days. Kind of innocent and sexy at the same time.
Why not? I was 16.
Beryl Norman, the girl next door.
Fan mail from every foxhole that held a soldier.
Oh, God, how it all comes back. Well, what was that tune that made you famous?
Please be kind. I married one of those soldiers, my first husband. His name was Hugo Lemming, Colonel Hugo Lemming.
Well, how about that?
I was 18. Beryl Norman, the girl next door to a moron. Brother, was I raw. And didn't those high-class army ladies let me know it?
Why'd you marry him anyway?
Oh, usual wartime bit. Sex, sunshine, a well-pressed uniform.
How long did the uniform stay well pressed?
About 3 years. Oh, it dragged on for longer, but it wasn't real, only for 3 years.
Well, that's about par for the course.
Perhaps. But that's the man I want you to trace.
Why do you want me to find him?
Just find him. Leave the reasons to me and just find him.
Fine. Now let's talk about me. 5 guineas a day, reasonable expenses, all carefully itemized, and mileage on the car.
All right.
When did you last see your first?
I'll send someone to talk to you tomorrow. She'll be briefed.
What are you not telling me?
She'll put you right in the picture. She was the last person to see him.
All right, tomorrow, anytime.
She'll be here.
Any other relevant facts?
Just that you're better than your image.
Just one of those nice guys that always finished last, huh?
Yeah. I'll be hearing from you.
Ciao.
If music be the food of love, play on. Give me excess of it, that surfeiting the appetite may sicken and so die. Do you believe Shakespeare wrote Shakespeare?
It is something I have never lain awake at night wondering about.
I once knew a man who believed that the plays had been written by a coloured hermaphrodite from Wigan.
think your memory is returning.
In spasms.
The very word I would have chosen.
What do you lay awake at night wondering about?
I don't. I've been told I sleep the sleep of a beautiful, innocent, dangerous child.
What a privilege it would be to check that statement.
Another record, perhaps?
Of course. This really is a wonderful way of listening to all this slush.
Business with pleasure. My family motto.
In Latin, naturally.
In Persian. Much more decorative.
I dance rather well, don't you think?
Superbly.
I wonder where I learned.
Perhaps you were a gigolo.
This is my first affair. Oh, please be kind.
It's rather frightening, really. All the things I might have been that I'd prefer not to have been. Why, who knows, I might even turn out to have been...
What is it?
That tune. The voice. I knew it.
Yes?
I knew it. Yes. Yes, of course. Beryl.
And who is this Beryl?
My wife. My first wife. You were right about the record.
You remember this one?
Oh, yes, that was my wife singing there, all right. Beryl Norman.
Fascinating. And can you recall under what name you married her?
Yes, Lemming. Hugo Lemming. Colonel Hugo Lemming.
Do I congratulate you or salute?
Colonel Lemming, missile expert.
And this record reminded you of things?
Oh, yes, it reminded me of everything.
How strange. How very, very strange.
What's new, Pussycat? Whoa, whoa, whoa.
An abnormally cheerful morning, Inspector.
Yes. That, gentleman you asked us to pick up, he's outside now with Hound.
Wheel him in.
Right. Your presence is requested.
You push it. You want to watch it come. All right, Inspector, all right.
Shame.
Well, everything's falling out just about as we expected, eh?
Absolutely, sir.
Yeah. A sad and embittered woman, you know, Mrs. Kempsford. The not quite top-drawer colonel's lady frozen out by all the other army wives. Show business career in pieces, very, very sad.
Frightfully traumatic, one would imagine.
Yes, one can understand her bitterness with the system, but what makes a man like Lemming turn traitor?
Well, these intellectuals are all very unstable, sir.
I suppose that he was living in Kempsford's house down in the country all those years.
Oh, most certainly.
Did you ever have the chance to take a look at that house, sir?
No, sir. Kempsford hated the country. He said it was all filled with grass and stuff.
A very neat arrangement, you know. Colonel Lemming organised everything for Kempsford, and then, of course, they split the proceeds, his share going to finance the party.
Very altruistic.
The trouble is, we've no proof.
But not with Kempsford dead and Price Peters dead.
Yes. Colonel Lemming must be feeling pretty safe by now, you know. Safe enough to make a dramatic reappearance.
But it's the top man of the whole organisation that we're after, isn't it, sir?
Exactly. And I have a feeling that Colonel Lemming is the man who could lead us to him. In the meantime, you better revert to being blinking.
You want to watch it, coppers?
Yes, very good.
Yes? It's a lady called Cerie Van Epp. She wants to talk to you about a gramophone record.
Yes, speaking. But of course we can come to some form of suitable mutual arrangement. Just you keep on talking. Yes.
Just one more, huh?
You'll have me squiffy, Mr. Scrotty.
Oh, never.
All right, then. Death to the French.
As you say. So your gentleman knocked you down and escaped, huh?
Oh, he weren't all there, poor soul. Not more than about tuppence in the shilling.
You've no idea where he went, huh?
None at all, Mr. Scrotty.
You're not a trained mental nurse, are you?
Well, not exactly.
Who was it that decided that the man that you looked after was crazy?
It's what Mr. Kempsford told me.
Did it ever occur to you that your patient was being held prisoner?
Not really. I mean, you can't have crazy people running around like they was you or me.
No, of course not. How many times did you see Mr. Kempsford?
About a dozen times, maybe.
Just for the record, Miss Winkle, I'd like you to look at a photograph and see if you can recognize anybody in it.
Whatever you say, Mr. Scrotty. That's a geezer I looked after.
I thought you might say that.
And that's Mr. Kempsford with him.
Say that again?
It's Mr. Kempsford.
You must be mistaken.
Not me. I've seen him often enough.
And he called himself Kempsford?
What else?
Miss Winkle, I love you madly.
What happens now?
I suppose I shall have to try to remake my life.
It will not be easy.
That is a masterpiece of understatement. May I see you again?
No.
Pity. I rather thought we had quite a lot to offer each other.
I wonder who that could be. Excuse me. Two gentlemen to see you, Colonel Lemming.
We're not really gentlemen, sir. We're police officers.
Rough, untutored men.
Warrant.
You betrayed me.
I don't think so. Let us just say that bad faith breeds bad faith.
Did I ever show any evidence of that?
Oh, yes. That gramophone record that restored your memory. It was charming. It was all sorts of things. But it was not one of the records I bought.
Ah.
So I can only suppose that you planted it there for my benefit and your purposes.
La commedia è finita.
That, Sergeant, was the last line from a grand opera. Pagliacci.
Poor. Do you mind if I change into something a little more comfortable, gentlemen?
Colonel Hugo Lemming.
As ordered.
Bless you, gentlemen. Welcome back, Colonel Lemming.
Thank you.
We've been expecting you for the past year.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Nasty little telephone calls, Colonel, telling me that you were about to return. Oh, yes, they've betrayed you, Colonel. Your masters have sold you out.
I can explain my long absence satisfactorily.
Oh, no, you cannot. Some people are unlucky at cards, some with women, and others with horses. But you, Colonel, have been unlucky with gramophone records. You were seen buying one in Moscow.
I have never been in Moscow.
And you tried to use a record, most ingeniously, I must confess, to con the Van Eppley.
I have nothing to say.
You made use of everybody, didn't you, Colonel? Kempsford, your ex-wife, and your brother.
I have nothing to say.
Are you quite sure?
Quite.
Colonel Lemming has nothing to say.
Come in, Mrs. Kempsford.
Well, you asked me to come.
What kind of a fool do you take me for?
I don't take you for any kind of a fool.
You're dead.
You could be right.
They picked up Colonel Lemming.
So?
Someone's been quietly setting him up for the past year.
Who?
Oh, I think you can name a name. I'm also quite sure you won't.
You're quite right. I won't.
You're a fanatic, you know that?
That's only a word.
And so is your ex-husband, and right now they're working very hard to prove it.
You knew Price Peters had spotted you in Moscow, didn't you?
Buying a gramophone record, weren't you?
What was it? Shostakovich?
You were careless, weren't you?
So you had to dream up a cover story, hadn't you?
That ridiculous story you told Siri Van Epp.
You didn't really believe you'd get away with it, did you? I mean, after all, Colonel Lemming's an intelligent man. And you're no fool. Why did you even bother to try?
Perhaps we had no option.
You were acting under orders. It makes a dreary kind of sense now.
Does it?
It does. You're being thrown to the wolves.
No.
Look, someone had the bright idea combining the talents of your two husbands, right?
That's your theory.
Husband number one had the organizational genius. Husband number two had the thugs and stormtroopers. You were the perfect go-between. And you split the loot right down the middle. Half to Kempsford and half to the dear old cause.
Clever boy.
Then Kempsford dies and the whole plan falls apart. You and the Colonel have outlived your usefulness. Or maybe there's one last thing you can do for the dear old cause. Let yourself be thrown to the wolves.
You're a bloody traitor, aren't you, Colonel?
You've been passing information for years, haven't you, Lemming?
Did they blackmail you into it, Colonel?
Are you queer, Colonel?
Have they photographs of you, Colonel?
You bastards! I'm glad! You bastards!
Phil Scrotty speaking. Mrs. Kempsford? No, she's not here. I'll tell you if she shows. It's later than you think.
What'll happen to me?
Oh, 10, 20, 30 years. It depends on the judge.
I couldn't face it. Help me?
I can't.
No. No, you can't. I'm right, do you know that?
But don't second guess me.
You see, I believe. I still believe. Everything else goes. Lovers get a grey look and hurry on down. Kids get taller and walk away from you. Hello, goodbye, and come to my funeral. Every time you turn around, something changes. Right?
I'm listening.
But it doesn't matter. Because this is history. And the party's on the side of history. It's on our side and we can't fail.
No.
All right. So we've been sent down the river. So what? The party sent us down the river. And the party knows best. Well, who the important hell are we? Two people.
Two losers. Did Colonel Lemming take part in the train robbery?
Yes. He slipped on the steps and split his head. Hence the scar.
Like I say, you're dead.
Maybe. But what we believe in goes on. Do you believe in anything, Phil?
Nope.
Don't ever start.
Hello, this is Phil Scrotty speaking, and I'm good and angry. Why? Well, I just had a sad and illuminating talk with Mrs. Kempsford. My anger's going to cost you £5,000 cash. I want you to meet me at a flat of a young lady called Siri Van Epp, 17 Downington Court. And you better show up. Well, about 7:30, big man.
Who are you working for, Lemming?
Who was your boss?
Who was the big man, Lemming?
The big man, Lemming?
The big man?
I'll never tell you! I'll never tell you! I'll never tell...
He's not coming.
Relax.
But...
He'll be here.
Why are you doing this for me, Scotty?
Well, because you're the most discreet woman I know.
Oh, my apologies for being late. I'm afraid I can't stay for long. I've just had some rather dreadful news.
Beryl Kempsford has killed herself.
Who told you? A pity, a great, great pity.
Better write off your brother as well.
So I gather.
They become expendable, haven't they? So you started making those anonymous phone calls.
Oh, come, Scotty. You're the last person I'd have expected sentimentality from.
Sentimentality?
Of course, dear lady. I made no demands of them that they were not prepared to accept. Indeed, I pandered to their greatest needs. My brother always fancied himself in the role of a martyr. Now he is one. My sister-in-law needed a cause. I provided one. It surprises me, however, she should betray it to you.
Well, she didn't.
Then who gave me away?
You did. You should have never gone down to the country to see your brother. And if you did, you shouldn't have called yourself Kempsford. The real Kempsford, I'm told, is allergic to the rural.
That stupid woman, Miss Winkle.
Years ago, when you first asked me to look for your brother, you gave me a photograph. You were in it. She recognized you.
One always overlooks something.
Have you brought the money?
Oh, yes, here it is. You may keep the small bag as well, a gift.
I am deeply touched.
What exactly am I buying with this money?
What exactly are you most in need of at the moment?
Time.
Well, that's what you're buying with the money. And your brother and your late sister-in-law.
Yes, it's very sad. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have things to do, doors to lock, documents to burn, planes to catch.
Relatives to bury?
One learns quickly in this business that omelets not made without breaking eggs. Well, I must fly. Please don't bother to see me out. Goodbye. Pleasure to do business with you.
You are a very strange person.
Yeah, weird. Hello, Kronk. Scrotty. Yeah, he's just left. You got 2 men on him? Great. Yes, he admitted it. Mrs. Van Epp and myself will swear to it if necessary. Fine. See ya.
What now?
Any suggestions?
Stay here.
Why?
Because sometimes one is made to think that any kind of love is valuable.
Even mine?
Even yours.
I'll stay.